Hey, what's up, everyone? Brent here. Yeah, this is a different kind of review than my normal scripted stuff. I decided to do something different simply because Atomic Heart is kind of a different kind of game. I mean, it's not, but it also is. It's a weird game. Anyways, so I didn't feel like writing a full review for it because while I was playing it, I was just trying to like kind of pay attention to what was going on in the game because there's kind of a lot always happening at the game all at once. So I feel like I should start off by saying that back in 2022, there were two games that I was super stoked for: Ghostwire Tokyo and Atomic Heart. Now, if you guys have seen any of the videos that I have on this channel, and I'll actually link it in the description of this video, my Ghostwire Tokyo review, I didn't really like Ghostwire Tokyo that much. I mean, it was okay. But it wasn't as good as it could have been. Sorry, phone's going off. It just wasn't as good as it could have been. It could have been a whole lot better. Now, the thing about Atomic Heart is that there's way too much of a good thing happening in this game. And it can make the gameplay and the game and everything about it just kind of feel overwhelming at some points. So that is my issue, is that there's just a whole bunch of good ideas kind of crammed together in a single game. And it creates for like this really weird experience because you're trying to juggle all these really great things that don't always mesh well. First, I want to state the story is really good. The story is super intriguing. You play as a character named P3. He's got amnesia. You're in sort of like this post World War II advanced society in communist Russia. It is a different future where the Soviet Union has remained intact, and there's robots everywhere, all this really great technology, and all of a sudden it goes haywire, and you're tasked with trying to figure out why all the robots started attacking and finding a way to shut it down. As far as like the dialogue between P3 and his glove, yeah, he talks a lot. Some of it's cheesy, some of it's not. I'll leave that up to you to decide. Visually, the game looks amazing. Absolutely beautiful. It's one of the best looking games that I've played on the PlayStation so far. As a matter of fact, I would have to say that it's fairly evenly tied with Horizon Forbidden West as far as like photorealism goes. Like, it kind of looks like P3 is a real human, and the other humans in the game look like real humans. Really impressive. And then like visually, like the open world, the robots, everything looks great. Very, very awesome. Some other really good things: the collecting, crafting, and upgrading feels absolutely amazing and relatively rewarding. You go around, you use your glove to sort of telekinetically pull stuff out of rooms, and it all feels and looks really good. And then you use those items to upgrade your weapons and your gloves, your glove ability. And that's all really cool. It's all really rewarding, and it always comes at the right time when you need to make those upgrades. It's really great. Except for one part. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to it right now. The intro is really long, and it's actually really frustrating because you're hit with a lot of robots all the time. You're getting used to all of these different mechanics that the game throws at you, and mechanics that they don't explain all that well. So the beginning is rough. It's a long beginning. It's probably like maybe 3 hours long, and you just got to get through it. But once you get through it, the game opens up, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of fun. It's also kind of not. Some of the stuff is just frustrating simply because your weapons are really weak and your glove abilities are really weak. Therefore, it can be really, really difficult to take down some of the more difficult robots. Now, moving on to the open world. The open world is one of the things that I actually found to be kind of pointless and kind of frustrating. So it's pointless because the only real purpose of the open world is to go from point A to point B and the testing grounds. There really isn't much to do in the way of exploring, and this leads into why it's frustrating. The open world is frustrating because any exploring that you want to do will constantly be interrupted by robots and security cameras. Now, sure, maybe you're thinking, well, why can't you just kill the robots? Well, you can, but they're immediately repaired by repair drones. it's not like, oh, you take out the enemies and maybe 20 minutes later they're back. I would have been okay with that. Because, I take out the robots, do my exploring, then I'm gone. So 20 minutes later, I'm long gone by the time those robots are back. Or they're back by the time the next time I come through that area. That would make more sense. But these robots, they're immediately repaired. And that's just incredibly, incredibly frustrating. That's one of the reasons why the open world is frustrating, because I didn't want to spend too much time in it, because I was just going to get killed by robots. And the robots that I did kill would just be back momentarily, within moments. Another thing about the game that's somewhat frustrating is that there's just way too many different kinds of combat mechanics. You've got your guns, you got your glove abilities, and you've got your gun cartridges that basically you shoot an element. So there's ice, electricity, and fire. And although 3 different kinds of combat mechanics doesn't seem a whole lot, it's the way that they're all kind of integrated together is really weird. It's really weird, and it's not always seamless the way that you want it to be in a game like this. Now, shooting and using your glove mechanics does feel okay, but the way that you have to go in and re-equip certain cartridges, well, any cartridges for that matter, it kind of breaks the immersion of the game when you have to go into your weapon wheel, re-equip, get a new cartridge, and it just kind of slows things down and makes things awkward. The next thing is that you only get to have 2 glove abilities equipped at any given time, even though you can cycle through them on the D-pad. They're equipped to like the left bumper or something. I don't know. My bad. And so you cycle through it and you use your left bumper, and then you go. That's right, because your right bumper is like you're scanning. So I don't understand why they couldn't just like have everything to be able to be cycled through on the D-pad, and naturally only have one equipped to your left bumper all at once. That was really frustrating. In my opinion, they should have gotten rid of the element cartridges for your guns in favor of being able to use more glove abilities through just simply cycling through it on the D-pad. The next thing that you can do in the game are like these testing facilities. You want to go to these testing facilities because that's where your weapon upgrades are. And you need these weapon upgrades because the game does get harder, and the different main storyline quests, they get more and more challenging with harder and more difficult bosses. So you want to have these weapon upgrades for your particular playstyle, so that way these bosses are relatively easy. So you want to go into these testing grounds, but the thing is, like, you got to be prepared for some intense puzzles. The puzzles, they start off relatively easy, but then they get more and more challenging through the harder and harder testing facilities. There are times in this game that I feel that it feels like the game is struggling between being like this action adventure game to sort of like this action puzzle game. It doesn't always work particularly well. So sometimes the puzzles feel a little out of place, especially the lock picking puzzles. There's 3 different kinds. There's one where you just kind of snap your fingers to some lights and it unlocks the lock. And then you have to match colors to some lights. And then you use the wires in your glove to unlock things. It's all really weird. And there's too many of them, and they always kind of come at weird times. That doesn't always feel appropriate. I don't know. Maybe I'm just complaining for the sake of complaining. My bad. It was just a weird game. So yeah, playing Atomic Heart, it was a really weird experience. There was a lot of times where I was like incredibly frustrated and I wanted to move on to a different game. But then I would get past that frustrating part and then it would be a lot of fun again. And then, yeah, the open world was really frustrating, but the story's really cool. It looks really amazing. And the bosses are a lot of fun. The weapons are cool. The glove abilities are cool. I mean, as much as I could have done without like the element cartridges for your weapons, those were still pretty cool when you did use them and could find a way to kind of juggle everything. But you know, it's just a really weird game. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to do a weird review for it and not a typical scripted one. Anyways, do I recommend Atomic Heart for people? I mean, if you've got Game Pass, try it out on Game Pass. Know that if you do plan on buying it, you could be potentially buying a game that may be weird. And you may regret. I don't regret buying it. I did enjoy, overall, I did enjoy my time playing it. It was just weird. Some things felt overwhelming. And now I'm rambling. I'm going to wrap this up. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did enjoy this review and you want to see more reviews that are unscripted like this and scripted reviews, please consider liking and subscribing. It would really help us out a lot. In the meantime, everyone, take care.